She takes a sharp, deliberate breath, the kind you take right before you're about to put someone in their place. "Excuse me," she says, her voice cutting through the cabin's low murmur. The man doesn't look up right away, his focus still locked on the screen. To Caroline, this is just more proof of his guilt. He's not just in her seat, he's ignoring her. "Excuse me," she repeats, louder this time, her tone dripping with impatience. "I think you're in my seat." The man slowly raises his head. His eyes are calm and observant, showing no trace of surprise. He offers a polite, neutral expression. "3A, he asks, his voice a low, smooth baritone. "I believe this is my assigned seat." He gives a subtle nod toward the seat number above the window. Caroline lets out a short, sharp scoff. "No, I don't think so," she says, her words practically lacquered with condescension. "There must be some kind of mistake. This is the first-class cabin." She pauses, letting the implication hang in the air, thick and ugly. Then she delivers the final blow, "Perhaps your seat is further back. In economy." Picture the scene, Gate 42B at a bustling New York airport. The air is humming with that unique energy of a final boarding call. This is the flagship overnight flight to London, a route often packed with titans of industry, celebs hiding under baseball caps, and people who consider luxury a basic necessity. Passengers are streaming down the jet bridge, a river of rolling suitcases and quiet focus. And among them is a woman named Caroline. Caroline looks exactly as important as she feels, which is to say, very. Her business suit is perfectly tailored but slightly rumpled, the telltale sign of a frantic taxi ride after a meeting ran long. She's clutching her designer handbag like a weapon, her face a mask of pinched frustration. For Caroline, time is money, and being forced to rush is a personal insult to her meticulously organized life. First class is her sanctuary, a well-deserved escape from the world's chaos, and she can't wait to get to her seat, 3A, the window seat she specifically picked out months ago. As she steps onto the plane and turns left into the quiet, spacious first-class cabin, her eyes land on her destination. But her relief instantly curdles into pure irritation. Someone is in her seat. A black man, dressed not in a suit, but in a simple, elegant dark sweater and comfortable trousers, is sitting there. He's lean, with a calm, composed posture, totally absorbed in a sleek tablet on his lap. He looks completely at peace, a quiet island in the stream of boarding passengers. Caroline stops dead in the aisle. The sheer audacity of it feels like a personal attack. The man's expression doesn't change. He doesn't get angry, he doesn't even bristle. He just holds her gaze, silently refusing to accept her judgment. In Caroline's world, people who she thought didn't belong were supposed to be apologetic when challenged. They were supposed to shrink. This man wasn't shrinking, and it was infuriating. "I'm quite sure this is my seat," he says again, his voice still maddeningly level. "But I'm happy to clear up any confusion." He taps his tablet, and the screen instantly displays his digital boarding pass, passenger, M. Sterling. Flight, ZA 788. Seat, 3A. He holds it up for her to see, a simple offering of fact. But Caroline doesn't want facts, she wants to be right. She glances at the screen for a split second. "Right," she says, drawing the word out. "Anyone can fake something like that. The airline system has obviously made a mistake, and you're just trying to take advantage of it." The accusation was now out in the open. He wasn't just mistaken, he was a cheat. An imposter. The man, whose name she hadn't bothered to read, slowly lowers his tablet. The first crack in his serene composure appears, not as anger, but as a profound look of weariness. It's the look of a man who has had this same conversation 1,000 times before. "There is no mistake, ma'am," he says, the politeness in his tone now feeling less like courtesy and more like a carefully built wall. By now, Caroline is the center of attention. The man in 3C is openly watching over the top of his Wall Street Journal. Other passengers have to squeeze past her, their sideways glances shifting from curiosity to judgment. But being on a public stage only strengthens Caroline's resolve. In her mind, she isn't just fighting for a seat, she's defending the proper order of things. "I am not going to argue with you," she declares, turning to find a flight attendant. "Excuse me." Flight attendant. A young woman in a crisp uniform turns, her name tag reading, Chloe. She has a bright, eager-to-please smile that fades when she senses the tension. "Yes, ma'am. How can I help?" "This man," Caroline says, gesturing dramatically, "is in my seat and he's refusing to move. I need you to handle this." She crosses her arms, radiating righteous indignation, fully expecting the crew to swoop in and put her world back in order. Section 2, The Rising Action. Chloe the flight attendant approaches with the cautious diplomacy of someone trained for in-flight emergencies. "Okay, let's see if we can sort this out," she says, her calming voice having zero effect on Caroline. "There's nothing to sort out," Caroline snaps. "My boarding pass says 3A. He is sitting in 3A. He needs to move." She holds out her own pristine paper ticket, as if its physical form makes it more real. Chloe takes it. "Okay, I see that, ma'am." She then turns to the man. "Sir, could I please see your boarding pass as well?" Without a word, he shows her the tablet. Chloe leans in, her eyes flicking between the paper and the screen. Her brow furrows. The professional smile is gone, replaced by genuine confusion. "Oh," she says softly. "This is unusual. It seems you've both been assigned to seat 3A. This was not the answer Caroline was looking for. "Well, that's impossible," she retorts. "I booked this seat 6 months ago. I'm an elite diamond member. Your system doesn't just double book my seat. He must have done something." Her voice gets louder, and more heads turn. A young couple across the aisle puts their phones down, suddenly more interested in the live drama. The man in 3C has lowered his newspaper completely. Caroline is no longer a passenger with a problem, she's the in-flight entertainment. "I can assure you," the man in the seat says, his voice cutting through her rant, "I have done nothing other than board this flight with my valid ticket." His calm feels like arrogance to her. "Don't take that tone with me," she spits. "I've heard stories about people hacking the app to scam their way into first class. Is that what this is? Did you think no one would notice?" Chloe is clearly out of her depth, a deer in the headlights of a social car crash. "Ma'am, please," she pleads, "let's try to keep our voices down." "I will not keep my voice down." Caroline shoots back. "I am the victim here. I pay a fortune to fly with this airline, and you're allowing a person like him to steal my seat." The phrase, "a person like him," hangs in the air, heavy and poisoned. It was never really about the seat. It was about her worldview. The man in the seat finally breaks his gaze. He looks out the window at the busy tarmac, and for a second, a flicker of deep, familiar pain crosses his face before he locks it away. He's done talking to her. Panicked, Chloe makes a decision. "Okay, please just wait here. I'm going to get my purser. He can access the full manifest and we'll sort this out." She offers a weak smile and practically runs toward the galley, leaving Caroline fuming in the aisle. Section 3, The Purser's Intervention. A minute later, a man in his late 40s with silvering temples and an air of unshakable authority emerges. This is David, the purser. He has the weary eyes of someone who has seen it all at 35,000 feet. "Good evening," David says, his voice calm but firm. "I'm the purser. I understand there's some confusion." Caroline immediately launches into her story, adding new embellishments. "It's not confusion, it's a disaster. I'm an elite diamond member, and this gentleman is refusing to leave my seat. He has some fake pass on his tablet, and your other flight attendant was useless." David listens patiently, his face unreadable. When she's done, he simply nods and turns to the man in the seat. His approach is different, respectful. "Sir, I do apologize for the disturbance. May I see your boarding pass, please?" The man hands over his tablet. David examines it, then pulls out his own airline-issued device. He types quickly, cross-referencing the passenger manifest. And then, it happens. David freezes. The color drains from his face. He looks from his device to the tablet, and then up at the man in seat 3A. His professional mask drops, replaced for a split second by pure, unadulterated shock. He quickly smooths it over into an expression of extreme, almost reverential deference. The shift is so sudden and so total that even Caroline notices. "Sir," David says, his voice now an octave lower, laced with a respect that borders on awe. He hands the tablet back like it's a holy relic. "My sincerest apologies. Please, don't trouble yourself." He then turns to Caroline, and his entire demeanor flips. The warmth is gone, replaced by a cool formality. "Ma'am, it appears there has been a system glitch. A rare occurrence. However, seat 3A is correctly allocated to this passenger." He gestures to the man. "We have another excellent first-class seat for you, 4D. Caroline is dumbfounded. This is a betrayal. "Another seat?" she asks, her voice dangerously quiet. "You want me to move? Why does he get the preference? Why should I be the one who is inconvenienced?" Her eyes dart between David and the man, her mind scrambling for an explanation. In her world, there's only one possibility. "What's going on here?" she demands, her voice rising to a shout. "Is it because he's... Are you giving him special treatment?" She doesn't finish the sentence, but everyone knows exactly what she was about to say. The atmosphere turns glacial. The businessman in 3C just shakes his head in disgust. David's face hardens. He tried to de-escalate. He tried to be diplomatic. He tried to save her from herself. But she had refused every off-ramp. David leans in, his voice a low, intense whisper. "Ma'am. You need to lower your voice and listen. The seat belongs to Mr. Sterling. I am now insisting that you take seat 4D, or we will have to discuss you leaving this aircraft." Caroline is immune to threats. All she hears is the name. "Mr. Sterling," she scoffs, raising her voice to shame him. And just who is this Mr. Sterling that he gets to bump an elite diamond member? Is he a celebrity? I've never heard of him. It's at that moment that the man, Marcus Sterling, finally acts. He's absorbed the insults, the accusations, and the thinly veiled racism with a reservoir of patience that is now, finally, empty. He slowly closes the cover on his tablet. The soft click echoes in the silent cabin. He turns his full, undivided attention to Caroline, and for the first time, she sees past the calm. It isn't anger. It's a profound, bone-deep disappointment. "I am Marcus Sterling," he says. His voice isn't loud, but it carries an authority that commands absolute attention. Caroline just stares, unimpressed. The name means nothing to her. She's about to ask, and, when the purser delivers the final blow. David stands up straight, his voice clear and precise, carrying through the entire cabin like a trumpet blast. "Ma'am," he says, looking directly at Caroline. "Mr. Marcus Sterling is the founder, the chairman, and the chief executive officer of this airline." He pauses, letting the words land. He owns this airline. He owns this aircraft. This is, in the most literal sense possible, his seat. Silence. A deep, echoing, absolute silence. Caroline's smug expression freezes, then shatters. Her face is a horrifying slideshow of confusion, then dawning comprehension, then stark, nauseating horror as the full weight of her actions crashes down on her. The blood drains from her face. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. The businessman in 3C lets out a low whistle. A quiet murmur ripples through the cabin. That man, he owns the airline. Caroline stands frozen in the aisle, the target of every eye. She's not the righteous victim anymore. She's the fool. She's the bigot. She's the woman who tried to kick the king off his own throne. The power dynamic hasn't just shifted, it has been utterly annihilated. Section 5, The Immediate Aftermath. In the deafening silence, Marcus Sterling slowly rises to his feet. He's a tall man, and his presence seems to fill the space, yet there's no menace in his posture. He looks past Caroline to the purser. "David," he says calmly. "Thank you for your professionalism. Please inform the captain we'll have a short delay. We have a passenger who will be deplaning." Every word is final. He then turns his gaze to Caroline. She flinches. Her arrogance is gone, replaced by a raw, desperate fear. "Ma'am," Marcus says, and the polite word now feels like a verdict. "Your assumptions were wrong. Your behavior was unacceptable. You created a hostile environment for my passengers and my crew." He pauses. "You will not be flying with us. Not today. Not ever again." He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't have to. It's the calm, dispassionate sound of a door being slammed shut and permanently locked. He then turns to the junior flight attendant, Chloe, who looks pale and shaken. His voice softens. "Chloe, you were put in an impossible position. You handled it with grace. We'll be discussing this later, not as a reprimand, but as a case study for improving our training on de-escalation and implicit bias." In one move, he holds someone accountable, shows compassion to his employee, and turns a crisis into a teachable moment. For Caroline, the world is collapsing. "Ma'am," David says, his voice now devoid of sympathy, "please collect your belongings. Security will meet you at the jet bridge." "No, wait," she stammers, the words finally tumbling out. "Please, I didn't know. It was a mistake. I'm sorry." Her apology is thin, desperate, born not of remorse but of the terror of consequences. Marcus Sterling looks at her one last time. "The mistake was not in failing to recognize me," he says, cutting to the core of the issue. "The mistake was in thinking your assumptions gave you the right to treat another person with disrespect. Some mistakes have consequences." As two airport security officers appear at the cabin door, Caroline's face crumples. The humiliation is total. Every eye is on her as she numbly gathers her things and is escorted down the aisle, a walk of shame past the silent, judging eyes of the other passengers. Section 6, The Fallout and the Moral. While this specific story is a fictional scenario, it's a powerful one because we can all imagine what would happen next in our hyper-connected world. A video of the final, dramatic moments would inevitably surface and go viral, sparking a global conversation. The story of the CEO in Seat 3A would captivate people not just because of the spectacular downfall, but because of the CEO's masterful response. Here was a leader who absorbed insults with superhuman composure, using his authority only as a last resort and with surgical precision. People would want to know more about this man. Imagine discovering he wasn't an heir, but the self-made son of a mechanic and a teacher. A man who built his airline on the principle of respect, a principle born from a lifetime of facing the exact prejudice he encountered on his own plane. He wouldn't just be a black CEO, he'd be a titan of industry who was still forced to justify his presence in a first-class seat. And what would become of Caroline? In this cautionary tale, her public shaming would be swift and brutal. She'd be identified, and the prestigious firm where she was a partner would be forced to act. She would lose her job, her standing, and her name would become a verb, to be Caroline, a warning about how prejudice can lead to a spectacular public self-destruction. This story becomes a modern parable about power, but not the loud power of status. It's about the quiet power of dignity. It's about the strength found in character and the authority wielded by a leader who remembers what it's like to be underestimated. Mr. Sterling didn't need to own the airline to be worthy of his seat. His ownership was simply the twist that forced a prejudiced world to finally see it. CTA. The events on our imaginary Flight 788 raise so many important questions. What did you think of the CEO's response? What's the most powerful way to confront prejudice in our own lives? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And for more stories like this that challenge our perspectives, make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell. Conclusion. In the end, this story is more than just a satisfying tale of instant karma. It's a mirror held up to our own society, reflecting the biases that still linger just beneath the surface. Caroline's mistake wasn't just poor judgment, it was a failure of empathy, a symptom of a world that too often judges people based on how they look. The ultimate victory here wasn't in removing a difficult passenger. It was in how a moment of personal humiliation was transformed into a global lesson on dignity. It's a powerful reminder that the most effective response to prejudice isn't to sink to its level, but to rise above it with unwavering integrity. Respect is the one currency that should be afforded to everyone, no boarding pass required.